Well, hello there, my name's Vinny Voodoo, and recently my good buddy Flint Mushroom got himself an Xbox Series S, and since the only cross-platform game we play is Warzone, it's a bit of a problem for him that the game stutters. Now, if you've seen this, you'll be familiar with it if you've got a Series S and play Warzone. It's not like lag, and I'll show some clips of lag, and I'll show a clip of what it looks like when it happens. And in this video, I'm going to explain what we did to try and alleviate it, so hopefully you can reduce this what clearly is a bug with the Xbox Series S and Warzone, and it'll reduce the effect of it and maybe even remove it. So without further ado, why don't we take a look at exactly what the problem is. And as I said, it's not lag. Now, if you look at this clip here, we all know what the lag effect is. You'll be standing by a window or a doorway, and then you're standing staring at a wall. You'll go crashing through a door, and then you're back in the building, or you'll just stand there and do a little tippity-tap, Michael Flatley kind of dance a bit, and then the game finally catches up and lets you continue playing. No, that's not the problem with this particular thing. What actually happens is everything freezes for a very specific amount of time. It's usually about a second, and that usually happens when an enemy is nearby. We've tried this on several game modes, and if you are playing Plunder and you don't see any enemies, it rarely, if ever, happens. It does sometimes happen when you're swapping weapons between your primary and your secondary, but usually it happens when a bad guy turns up right in front of you, and it freezes, and then you'll say you were shooting a guy, he'll be frozen in front of you, and then he'll be lying dead. Or if you're reloading, the animation for reloading will just stop. You can still walk around, and it still does the reload, but then all of a sudden your gun is closed up and it's ready to go. That's the stuttering that you see, and it's frequent when you're near bad guys. So if you go to something like Airport or Storage Town in Caldera, you will certainly see a lot of it, and it's to the point where it makes the game sort of unplayable. So what exactly did we do to fix it? Let's take a look at the first thing we tried. Right, I'll whiz through this list rather quickly. The first thing we tried was actually reducing the entire console's resolution to 720p, which you do through the system settings of your Xbox console, not in the game itself. The first game we played, it had completely gone. And we thought, oh, well, that's the fix then. It's not ideal, but it is a fix. Unfortunately, the second game we played, it sort of creeped back in, but it seemed to be much less prevalent. So my first piece of advice, if you're having this problem, is just to reduce the console settings to 720p whilst you play this game, and then put it back to normal when you are done. It's not ideal, but it did seem to help a great deal. Now, a lot of people will be saying, oh, it is just lag, it's just your internet connection. Well, the second thing we tried was a different internet connection. I have a hotspot on my phone and unlimited data through 3, and normally Flint Mushroom plays on Sky broadband. It made no difference whatsoever. The bug was still there, that pausing was still there. So I can confidently say I don't think it's lag, and I don't think your internet connection has anything to do with it at this stage. All right, the next thing we tried is if you go to your settings in-game, we turned off world motion blur and weapon motion blur and turned film grain down to 0. That seemed to make no difference whatsoever, but I prefer it off anyway, so I'd recommend doing that. But one thing I definitely recommend you turn off is on-demand texture streaming. It's got the 3 settings there. Go to disabled, it'll say you're sure, say yes, and I've got a feeling it's got something to do with that, because this bug only happens during interaction with other enemies and swapping of weapons, and funny enough, the on-demand texture streaming only affects operators and guns. The problem is the next time you boot the game, it's very likely it will have re-enabled this option. So you have to go and check it's disabled every time you run the game. But I recommend turning that off, and in combination with the 720p option, it does alleviate the problem considerably, down from happening every few seconds to happening maybe 4 or 5 times in an entire game session. So that's the options that I currently recommend. One thing we're going to try, which we haven't yet, is installing the game onto a mechanical hard drive, an external USB 3 hard drive. It may seem counterintuitive to do that, since the SSD built into the Series S is considerably faster, but that may be the problem. It may be too fast for this game. I think the game's badly written and badly optimized, but it may be written for a slower media, which would be a mechanical hard drive. So if you have a spare external, try installing the game on that. Right, let's back out and sum up. And so there we go. Those are the options that we've tried so far, and they seem to help. They don't remove the problem entirely, and if you've got it, you'll know what it's like. It is quite annoying, especially when you're shooting an enemy and then it unfreezes and either you're dead or he's dead, or then you're shot by someone else. And you don't even know what happened because you were just looking at a postcard still frame of the game. There may be other options, and I will update this video as and when we discover them, that may help the problem as well. And as far as I know, it doesn't affect the Series X. This is a Series S specific problem. So if you've got a Series S and you play Warzone and you've got this problem, let me know in the comments what you think is a good way of fixing it, or maybe you've worked out a way to completely remove it, in which case I will make a new video and credit you accordingly. In the meantime, I hope this video has been useful for you, and I will see you on the Warzone of Caldera. My name is Vinny Voodoo, and thanks for watching.